It looks like we are on the hour, and we can make it an official beginning. And I mentioned that we now have Europe and Australia. We also have Japan. This is as well as Canada and U.S. well represented. Love the internationalness of this. Um, Last week, Dan Like and Mike Pogue showed us the SquareDance calling application that runs mostly on the Mac, but will survive on the Windows again soon in Unix if you really want to work on it. And it's one that's very good, very competitive, very inexpensive. Can't get any less than that unless they pay you to take it, which I don't think they're ready to do. And we got into quite a bit of detail about, you can just use it or you can modify it to your preferences and drill down really far here, there, and everywhere. But some people were curious about, well, I don't want the details. I just want to know how to install it, how to get it, where to put my music, what to call it. So that was part 2 of a series. Today we're doing part 1. And we have with us from British Columbia, Vancouver Island to be specific, Richard, who is a SquareDesk virgin and has a Mac and is willing to have Dan and Mike, if he shows up. Is he likely to come, Dan?
I don't know. I haven't chatted with him, and my week has been very full, so I haven't had a chance to harass him.
Anyway, so I guess the procedure is we're going to sit back and Dan and Richard are going to talk a bit, sharing Richard's screen. And I assume if you guys have questions, obviously the usual discussion afterwards, but I assume if you guys are going to, if anyone else has questions along the way, I assume, Dan, you wouldn't mind being interrupted and picking those up as we go.
I think that's the point of it. I expect that this is going to be super easy, but I expect that there is detail here that Richard has already solved by dint of kind of thinking about how computer stuff works that people might have questions about. So, Richard, you want to share your screen and we'll take it away?
Yeah. Okay. I should just possibly mention that I'm doing this on not the laptop I use for calling, which is an old machine running XP, use SquareView. But this is a Mac, the desktop, so I'm not called from here, but it shouldn't make a difference.
Hopefully. Right. So just a quick kind of where we are thing. There undoubtedly will be kind of additional sorting Richard will want to do later once he sees the horrors of how we actually do things. But I believe that what's occurred here is he has this music SquareDance folder, and inside it he has singing and patter and then a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
And then a cue sheets folder, which hopefully has all of his cue sheets. And let's just drop into those and kind of take a look at them, if you don't mind.
Which one, the cue sheets or the music?
Or well, let's look at the music and let's look at the cue sheets to kind of see where we are.
There's this is the patter.
Okay. So something to notice here is that some of these have the publisher and numbers on them, and some of them don't.
Right.
Usually they're in different orders. Some of them have the numbers first, and some of them have the publisher information second.
Usually, I'll have the label and number at the end, but sometimes when I transfer it onto the laptop, I might change this is like the master copy that I got downloaded, and then it gets moved to the laptop. So sometimes it gets changed.
Yeah, I think I forget which my own preference is, but note that I'm not yet concerned about this. We just threw
Right.
stuff in there and we're all good. And let's go look at the well, yeah, okay, in the singing calls a little bit.
Yeah.
Same kind of situation.
I
Yeah.
want to interject something which unfortunately I do too often, but Richard, when he heard about this project, looked at the website and said, "Ooh, that sounds interesting," but he refrained from downloading it, so he would be a complete novice at it working with Dan.
So we haven't even downloaded it yet.
No.
We are truly working without a net.
Right.
Okay, let's go to squaredesk.net and download that sucker.
And there was another semi-pertinent background thing I was going to mention, and I can't remember what it was.
And Tony's got his hand up.
Tony, go for it.
Before I forget, is it a problem if none of my file names has the label and number, if they're only just the song title?
I don't think so. I think it'll work just fine.
Okay,
you'll
thanks.
notice that some of Richard's don't have it, so I think we're all
I use mostly older songs, and they don't come through automatically. You know, I haven't been buying them as MP3s, so they don't come to me with the label and number on them.
right. So let's go click on that. Version 0.9.5 for Mac OS X is now available for download. Oh, there it is. Download it here. Woohoo! Click on the download button. I really should.
And I put everything typically in downloads. So.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Just.
And yeah, we'll wait a moment while it comes down.
I'm glad I interrupted because that was an important part there.
Yeah. And I don't know how fast your internet connection is. Oh, open. There we go. Show and finder. Okay.
There we are.
All right. So this is a DMG file, which is kind of like a virtual disk installer thing. So if you double click on that, we'll get a verifying and a little bit of a message.
Standard way you install stuff on the Mac.
Yes. And well, there are other ways, but yes, this is the way that I think everybody's going to now. And so now if you click on the little SquareDesk.app and drag that over into the applications folder, ta-da, we should be all installed.
So that should show up in here.
Yes,
it's you can see it's working on it.
Yeah, once the hamsters stop spinning the wheel. And ta-da, we should now be installed. Yes.
So I can get rid of some of this other stuff.
Yeah.
So we click.
So we click, yep. And
wait. There we are.
Ta-da. Well, ta-da-ish. From the internet, the big scary internet. And you can see we haven't done a build in 2 years. And any moment here.
Dan, what is the latest version?
0.9.5, unless you're building it yourself from source. And if you know what that means.
9.5. Okay, yeah. That's what I got.
And yeah, if you know what building it yourself from source means, you don't care what the latest version is.
And then it says Qt 5.9.3 in parentheses. What's?
Yeah, so Qt is the interface library that we use. So it looks to me like this didn't go through its initial startup thing for whatever reason. So let's go up to SquareDesk, the SquareDesk menu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Up here, you mean? Yes.
Yep. And we should have the preferences dialog. Let's pop up the preferences. And
Okay.
see, it says users Richard music. That's why it took so long to come up. It was scanning
It's
all
got
of
masses of stuff in there.
Yeah, so let's click on that choose button there to narrow this down a little bit.
Right. Okay.
And yeah. So somewhere in here is the SquareDesk or SquareDance, and click on just to open on that one, that folder that you're in currently.
Okay. This is
Looking for all
it's
the
got a
music.
lot of stuff.
That's okay. It's still okay.
Okay. So you don't want me?
When it came up, it was looking for any music anywhere on the computer or something.
Yeah.
Well, it was anywhere, any music in his home directory /music. And now, you know, I don't want to narrow it down to pattern singing because we want to be able to flip back and forth between looking at pattern singing. So we'll just point it to here and click open.
Okay. But
right
you'll
now.
get a lot of duplications.
That's okay.
Okay.
We'll deal with that. And while we're here, so notice, unlike last week when we didn't have semicolon separated things, these are the default types. And he has named, I think your singing calls are in singing or singers.
Yes.
So that should all be okay. So let's click OK for now. And this should scan again. Okay, so now in type, if you type in patter. Oh, yeah, so notice the type is blank here for a few things. Those are things that were directly in your SquareDance folder. And then everything else is down below it. So if you type in patter or PAT, there's all your patter. And if you double click on one of those, we probably didn't set up for audio sharing.
Probably not.
But we have Come Back Jamaica 2 is queued up. And we have default settings for the tempo, pitch, volume, and mix, and all of that stuff. And if we go back to that search box and type in sing, we can double click on one of those singing calls. I like that one. Now let's go tap on the lyrics tab here. Up at the top of the window.
Oh, I see up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Boom.
yeah.
Your lyrics are
Wow.
paired. Now, to anybody who's ever spent hours using Merry Lyrics in SquareView, that feels like magic. At least it does to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations. You now know how to use SquareDesk.
Right.
But let's configure a few other things here.
I just remembered the other thing I was going to say is you guys told us last week that there is an installation tutorial or helper.
I believe that document is there. Yes. Since
So
I
that
haven't
you
had to
should-
install. Yeah.
Should be able to do this on your own also, but it's nice to see it done. I have a question for the rest of you. Is anybody following along and installing at the same time? Well, if not, if you are anyway, feel free to jump in and say, mine didn't do that. So anyway.
So I am noticing a few things here that another night, SS 108 WM, apparently my code to try to guess at publisher singing thing was not smart enough to get that. So if you want to figure that out automatically, we'll have to figure out how to turn that into you'll want to rename that on disk to something that it picks up.
Yeah, that's probably the version that had the what do you call it? The version where he has the vocals.
Yeah.
I suspect.
So I have thought about throwing some machine learning and some ability to train things at this, but I always found it easier just to rename the files on disk.
Yeah. How would I get rid of stuff? Like when we went to Patter, for example, it picked up a directory called new Patter, which is not wanted because it's all goes somewhere else. I mean,
Right.
I should
So-
obviously clean up my directory, but
yeah, I think that's the answer that we have, is kind of keep your directory clean. And
so
what
if I
do-
change the directory, it'll automatically pick up the changes here, right?
yes.
Okay.
In fact, it will do that even if you have SquareDesk running at the time. So
Nice.
if you go pull that new pattern into something else, it should pick it up. Let's go
Yeah.
back into the preferences.
Right.
And flip over to hotkeys for a moment, if you would, please. Okay, so this is where we can, flip between or configure all of the things. And I'm looking for a particular setting, which is probably bound to either Command T or Control T. So let's scroll down a little bit. These are all of the different hotkeys that you can configure, and you can set, oh, there we go. Keep going down.
There's a here.
Toggle songs, Command T. Yeah, okay, so cancel on that for a moment and run back. So hit Command T. And hit Command T again. So this is how I flip back and forth between pattern singing call.
Nice.
And in the preferences, you can set a list of things for it to toggle between. So for instance, you have interstitial or filler music that you play in the breaks. You can have pattern singing filler music here. We can pop back up to the preferences for a moment.
Dan, does Command T just cycle through the types you have, or is it
no,
or is it for two specific ones?
See this toggle sequence down here? This can be the default is pattern singing, but you can put a list in here separated by semicolons, and it will toggle through that entire list.
A list of what? Sorry, Dan.
A list of things to put in that first search field. So right now it's the same as having pattern semicolon singing in the sequence here. But if you had pattern singing and break, you could type pattern semicolon singing semicolon break.
And how would I put something as break? Let's say I have one of these songs that I never play or that's in the list somewhere. How would I label it as
you
break?
put it in a folder called break.
Oh, okay.
So if you have such a folder right now, like a specials or something like that.
Yeah. As you can see, it's time to clean up this stuff.
Yes.
But let's say new, all right?
Okay.
New pattern.
Yes.
Let's say it's stuff that I'm not familiar with.
So down here in toggle sequence, let's go type in pattern semicolon sing semicolon new.
Like that.
Yeah, and click in OK. Now,
And
if you hit Tab or Command T,
oh, cool. Yeah.
so you can organize your music however you want to, and
Yes.
have that Command T to toggle between things.
Oh, so not perhaps for patter, but for singing, you might, or maybe you might want, this is for the basic group, this is the Main Street group. You could do that if you wanted to.
You
I don't
might.
know quite why you would, but
Yeah, I think of this as more for flipping really quickly between, in since I don't use the playlists the way Mike does, and I was hoping Mike would be here so he could walk you through the playlists. This is the way that I pop in and say, okay, now I need to choose my singing call. Okay, now I need to choose my pattern. So I flip back and forth with this. Mel, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just saying your Control T function or your toggle through, once you get familiar with it, if you have your default set up as your singing calls, your pattern calls, and that's your full directories, for people like me and several others that like to program their entire evenings, or if they're programming an event, that's where it's really great, because you can just create a folder which is specific to that event. You've got your programming, you've got your structure, you've got everything else that you want there. All you got to do is just 001, 002, pattern singer, pattern singer, pattern singer. And then if somebody, you've got your event structure, you've got everything done, and then you're there and say, oh, Don Beck walks in, oh, Don and I have done a song together before sometime. You can just toggle right back to your main, pick up that song. You don't have to change anything. And that's where I don't particularly use that program, but that's the same type of feature that I use in SquareView. Is I'll set up just a specific directory to find when I'm doing my actual programming. So I've only got a smaller bunch of records or a smaller bunch of music. So that's where I find it really functional.
This leads us nicely into playlists.
Oh, thank you.
So we have Fool Such As I currently highlighted. Run up to the playlist menu if you, just to catch the chat here. Joe asks, what is the command key? On the keyboard, on the Mac keyboard, that is in the same place as the Alt key is on your Windows computer. But I believe that we use Control T on Windows. So anyway, back up to the playlist menu. Go for add to playlist. At top of playlist, sure. Okay, so notice we got a little 1 there on the left-hand side of that line.
Oh, here.
Yeah. Let's go choose something else. And you can be Command T'ing back and forth as much as you want at this point, doing anything else you want. And add to playlist at top or bottom. So you can rearrange things here. And now, so notice there is a Shift Command left arrow and a Shift Command right arrow on that. So I think that's what those things mean. You can set those command keys to whatever you want, accelerator keys to whatever you want. But if you hold down Shift Command and hit left arrow or right arrow, that should add to the top or the bottom.
It's gone back to 1 again. Is that because
you were adding at the top? So now we can't find any of them, which is, fine. Let's clear out that singing call thing, or clear out the type filter. And I thought that we used to have a one-click.
I'm not with you.
Okay, so where it says new, just blank, select that and blank it out.
Okay.
So we show everything.
Okay.
Okay, so now in order to see your cue sheet, or not your cue sheet, your playlist, click on the little number button, number header, column header.
Here. Yeah.
So that sorts by your sorts by your playlist order. And sometimes like if I'm looking for a specific song, I want to cite, you can click on title and that will sort alphabetically. Obviously too, you can go into either any of those top things and click and type in there. For instance, sometimes I know, okay, this next tip, I want something with that Royal sound, because Royal records all sound the same way. Boom, there's all your Royals. Now, Dream a Little Dream, for instance, down there, the Royal 608, you've got that in your February 2015 folder. Oh, no, you've got that in singing. Let's go click on Dream a Little Dream in the singing, whichever one you'd use. And control click or right click. Edit tag, or go for edit tags. We haven't configured any tags yet, I don't think. I tag Dream a Little Dream as a closer because it's one that I use at the end of the night. So type in closer here.
Okay.
And hit enter. And notice you now have a little green closer down there. So if you type in closer in the title search, you will get anything that has closer in the thing. Right. If you want to go only to tags, you can type in Shift-3, the octothorpe or # character closer, and that will limit to just as a leader on it. So clear it out. If
You
you had
could,
something that
You
was
could
very-
actually use this as an additional labeling, like Christmas music, Irish music, St. Patty's Day, without changing your
Exactly.
singing calls, and just that's a
Yeah.
neat function.
Yeah,
So
because when you look for closers, you want to do hashtag closer. Otherwise, it's going to come up with songs like "Closer to You."
yes, exactly.
Yeah, but that's
So-
not closer. The computer should be smart enough to figure that out.
Or the Nine Inch Nails tune, which I keep around for patter. But yes, but yeah. So the if you find that your searches are too noisy, the hashtag before the the pound sign before your tag search helps. Now, something to notice here is notice that it had edit, or it had a different thing on the tags menu. If you do that control click thing again.
Right here.
Well, I was going to let's add another tag maybe to something.
Okay.
So do the control click thing, pop up that little menu again. Okay, so tags.
Oh.
This has a pre-populated list of tags that we created, and closer. We have two closers here, probably because we pre-populated with the one without the lowercase tags, and you put in one with the uppercase tags. But you can either edit tags as freeform text, as we just did, or use this menu to add and remove
Yes.
tags to them. And if you want to go edit that list, we can go back to preferences and edit the list of tags. So
right.
this
Yes.
lets you assign colors, add, remove things. If you add tags in the freeform text, it will add the tag here by default. So we could make that closer, click on the background for that closer, or for the one with the capital C. Yeah,
Yes.
the background, there we go. And notice down on the left-hand side, let's make that purple or something.
How's that?
Yeah, groovy. Okay, you can close that off. Although we'll come back to that in a moment. And well, I thought that should, oh, okay. So now let's go back up to title type to search and type in hashtag closer. And
Yes.
notice that it has turned color. So this is also handy on my, we were demoing on my Mac, which I have not kept up to date, but on my Linux box, I have all my Halloween in orange and my Christmas is in red and things like that. So let's pop back up to the SquareDesk preferences again. And just
sorry.
run through the features here. So let's go to sessions.
Just out of interest,
Yeah.
I typed it with a capital C. Let's say that's a mistake, and I really wanted it to be the same as that. What would I do?
I think what happens if you double click on that what happens if you make it lowercase? Does we hit mesh enter? No, it didn't.
No.
Okay, go back to edit tags.
Can you select if you do a search?
Oh, yeah.
Can you multi-select a bunch of things and then say add or remove the hashtag on
Yes.
all selected ones?
Yes.
So that would be a good way to switch. Let's say you had a whole bunch of these and you put the capital closer in and you brought all those up, and then you could just select all, add the lowercase tag, and then remove the uppercase tag, and then you'd have converted them all over.
Yeah, the challenge is that if they have other different tags on them, then the multi-select edit doesn't work as well, obviously.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go.
Question down before you move on.
Yeah.
Is the search function is it case sensitive? Is my question is.
I
So
think
what
it
I
is.
was asking, if you could label another one closer just at random with a small c and do the search, I don't know if it's case sensitive. Would it pull them both up with the word close?
I think it is case insensitive.
Okay.
So I think that
it really wouldn't matter then.
Yeah. And so I think you can, so go click on the uppercase closer there.
Sorry, in this window?
Yeah, in that window, in the
Yeah.
preferences window. And see the little
Okay.
minus button down there on the bottom?
Yes.
Yeah, that should remove
This
that.
one?
Yep.
Click.
Click it. Boom. Okay. So now we are all lowercasing.
So something that had a tag of closer with a capital C, has that tag got removed?
Yes.
Okay.
But since we only did the one, I wasn't that worried
Yes.
about it.
Right. No, I just wanted to check. Yeah.
Okay. Since we're in preferences anyway, let's go talk about sessions for a moment. So by default, we set you up for a session for every day of the week. And we basically say, if you start SquareDesk after this time, you have the option of automatically starting in that particular session. So if I go to my Monday night group and open my computer and start SquareDesk, I can either default to practice here, which we have done, or going to Monday. So see where it says default to first session down there above the OK key?
Yeah.
I use that, click on that. I use that in set session to start up on specific day and time. And that way, every time I start it up, it remembers that. And there are a bunch of things. So it will remember how long it's been since I played a song for that particular session.
Wow.
So my Monday night group and my Thursday night group, you know, I play different music for them, and I can tell you how long it's been in days since I played something for them for one group versus the other group. And you can, if you have, you know, say you call it a senior center in the afternoon and a church in the evening, you can create sessions for the same day that start at different times of day, so that it will automatically pick up either of those. This one was super important to me. Let's see what else is useful and interesting here. We've been through tags, we've been through sessions, we've looked a little bit at hotkeys, enough to know that we can do that. Let's go look in, yeah, experimental, why not? Experimental, I think, was where, oh, yes, let's turn on enable clock coloring by song type. So that will, so note that little clock over there on the right side, which says that we haven't done anything for 8 minutes and 33 seconds. If you enable clock coloring by song type around the outside where the ticks are, that will start to track different colors based on what kind of song you were playing, based on the colors you have the song set to in the beginning music. So you can see that, okay, yes, I have indeed been doing my break singing patter. It isn't super useful, but it is nice. The things below that are the things that I think are really useful, which is the break timer and the patter timer. So the patter timer says that when it starts counting when you start your patter music, and it says that after 7 minutes of patter, do some sort of timer thing. The visual indicator flashes the screen. I usually have like a bell or a gong sound. And this tells me that, hey, you've been working them too hard. It's time for the singing call.
You should add a feature where you can put a USB dongle on that communicates over Bluetooth to a thing that you wear. And so when your patter goes on too long, it can send you an electric shock.
I like that. Yes. And similarly with the break timer, I usually go for a 4-minute break timer because I find it, well, depending on the group, you know, some groups I'll go 3 minutes. It takes about a minute for people to square up again. And so after you finish playing your singing call, this will automatically start that timer and then play a sound. And after a few evenings of this, your dancers will be Pavlovian conditioned such that when they hear that ding, they will start squaring up automatically and you don't have to tell them to anymore. The rest of these I don't necessarily use. The animation is for the SD tab, but now that everybody is using Taminations, this is becoming less and less useful. And it wasn't anywhere near reality anyway, so that's totally under development.
On your default, where you have set songs initial beats
Yeah.
per minute. Now, is that's a default changing? All of the things will be set at say 126 if that's what you set it as.
I think so. I didn't write that, but I think that we actually do a pretty good job in most cases of guessing the BPM of the song.
Yeah.
So
no. Well, what I'm wondering is that would be playing the song, because some are recorded at, depending on how the recording is, it'll say things. That's not going to change the music, is it?
I don't know. That might actually.
The reason I'm asking is if you've got one that's, say, a long slow ballad that is set at 122 and you've got one that's set at 128, if you set your default to 124 as an example, sometimes it doesn't really make a difference, but other times it will make a big difference depending what kind of instrumental you have.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how that particular feature works. I always set my settings over on the music player tab.
Yeah.
So all of these sounds are, when SquareDesk runs and you point it at a given directory, it creates a SquareDesk folder, or creates a folder called something. I forget what it's called. I'll find it in a moment. And all of these sounds are in there, and you can, replace any of these sounds with other sounds if you'd like, or add and remove sounds to them. We just put a bunch of samples in there that we could come up with, and there we go.
So you could record a sound of some pleasant voice saying, please square your sets now.
Yes, exactly. Or if you're the obnoxious, like the caller who's, I'm going to help with some tech problems this afternoon, you put the screaming goat sound in there. Let's see what else is interesting. Let's go look at global effects. I'm not sure what's in there. Okay, this is stuff for experimental stuff for trying to do automatic audio processing. I have not done anything with these, and I don't trust that they're working well enough to trust. So I think that that's kind of the basic overview. You'll notice that if you start something playing, we probably won't be able to hear it because you didn't share audio from your computer, but that's okay. And then stop it. I think that we will see something in the age direct. Oh no, because we're on Dream a Little Dream. We're filtered. So go mash the clear search button so we can see everything again. Notice over on the right, there's an actual button for clear search, which should clear everything.
Oh, right.
Okay, so now let's go find another U, which we can do with the search.
Another U, is that something to do with the goats?
Yeah, yeah. So note that the green, another U, now has an age of 0 in there. That means we played it today. And obviously, like all of those columns, you can click on the column and sort by it. And apparently we didn't get pitch or tempo, or we didn't pick tempo out of that. So we just put 100% for tempo. But you can, this way, the clicking on the age column is how I look for things that I have or haven't played recently. And tempo and pitch are just sliders that you've got up there in the top. You can slow it down or speed it up, as you saw. And we can't hear this right now, but trust me, it works. And as you
Dan,
yeah,
repeating what you said last week, when you slide your tempo faster or slower, it's memorized for that particular song.
Exactly, yes. The mix is only useful if you have things where you have different information recorded in the left and right track. A lot of SquareDance or Round Dance cuers put the music in one side and the cues in the right side. And I think some people are doing that with called, vocals versions of stuff. So it's moderately useful or not, depending on how technically nerdy you are.
You get that if you're buying your things in wave. For instance, things with background vocals, the wave will be on a right side stereo or something along that line.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
not everybody does it in wave because you got to load 3 files of the same one.
I haven't done that. Just pop back into the preferences for a moment, please, and we'll see what. So under hotkeys here. Oh, okay. We don't have anything. I thought at some point that we had the option to switch between a couple of different music players as kind of the different settings, so we could sound like Square View or I have the hotkeys of Square View or various other things, but I think we just kind of set up for hotkeys that look more like Square View. And you'll also notice that there are 5 columns here. You can set 5 different device or 5 different buttons to any given action, up to 5 different buttons. And Mike and I both use this. We both have little Bluetooth remotes. And so you can configure the Bluetooth remote to be any of these things like stop song, start song, and volume control, and throw that in your pocket if you have to dance in the Square, and be able to control the music from the Square. So basically, if you click one of those, press shortcut and then press a button.
Do you want me to do a different one?
Yeah, sure. Do a different one and press a button on your keyboard. And F8 will now do volume up. Yeah. So if you have a USB or Bluetooth HID device, which is pretty much any kind of remote, you can use any button from those as well, and it should remember them just fine. We don't yet have MIDI devices, although I've thought about it.
Let me ask a question of Richard right now. You've downloaded it. You've got some of your music on it. Do you think you can use it right now, or are there a couple of basic questions that you want to ask?
I do have one question, but it's not. I'm sure I could start using it right away. Yeah.
So what's your one question?
Yeah, the one question is there any way of setting it up such that I can have different, for one song, a cue sheet with a cue sheet for basic and one for mainstream, or one for mainstream, one for plus, for example?
Let's cancel this. Are there any songs for which you currently have that set up?
Yes, but
okay, let's go choose one.
Give me a sec to find it.
Okay.
Because I know it would be on the laptop, you see. That's the problem.
Right.
Just give me a sec. I think I can find it pretty quickly.
Okay. I suspect if we look in your cue sheets folder up there, that
I'm trying to find that.
Was well, now it's
or about there you go.
There we go. We are all the boss in Dilbert right now.
So there's for example, there's the plus and there's the mainstream. I've got to find something that's the same in both.
Let's see. I see Christmas.
Let's do another one. Actually, let's what am I mean? Hang on, back up a sec.
No, I'm learning things about Mac that I didn't know. Okay.
Actually, if I sort by name, that might be quicker. There we are. 24.95. Okay.
All right. So let's go back over to SquareDesk and or clear out another U. You can do that either with a clear search button or
right.
And put 24.95 under label. Okay, so double click on that to load that sucker up.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's go over to the lyrics tab. Okay, so see where it says Q Sheet, Square View, Mine, Basic, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas? See that there's
Yes.
a little pull down box over on the right side of that, right before out.
Yes. Yes.
Click on that. Choose which one you want.
Right. I
So
thought
the
I-
bottom one is
okay.
plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Ah. Okay. Oops,
Boom.
Sorry.
There's
No,
plus.
no, I didn't. Yeah. Doesn't look
Not
like
clicking
it's.
on it. You're not
doesn't look-
clicking on it.
There
Ah.
we
Okay.
go.
Yeah. Right. Good. Okay.
So yes, that is how
Yeah.
you switch between them.
So
And-
it doesn't have a selection tab, but it's got a pull down menu, and it'll load anything that's in that Q sheet folder if it's labeled.
Yes.
Basic, Major, or
Okay.
Plus.
Right. Yeah.
And the matching is
Yep.
fuzzy. It isn't always perfect. Sometimes you get extraneous things in there, and sometimes you don't get the thing you wanted because it isn't quite named as closely as you'd like. We solve that by saying, go clean up your folder.
Yes.
But,
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the only other thing we haven't done is click back over to Music Player, if you would please. And this is in December 2015. So this isn't being recognized as a singing call or as a singer or patter. So it's getting the default player treatment. So let's go find a singer. So clear search and find something in singing.
And if you have something that I think you covered this last week, but if you have something you use as a singer or a patter, depending on how you're feeling, I think you said you have to make a duplicate of it.
Yeah, put it in both places.
One and one the other.
Exactly.
On the Mac, does it know aliases?
Yes.
So you could put an alias in the other directory so that you don't actually have to copy the whole MP3 file.
Yes. So I'm noticing that we don't have the colors turned on.
Just to interrupt for us non-computer literate people.
Yes.
When you're saying you have to put one in one folder, one in another, use an alias, you want to briefly explain that?
So
alias is the same as a Windows shortcut.
Well,
what I'm saying is the idea of this session for going back and asking, because I was asked a few questions, and rather than me say, oh, well, you need to contact Dan.
Yeah.
If they read this session, say, oh yeah, well, you can just put an alias in. I have no idea what an alias is.
So
or how to do an alias or put an alias there. To me, an alias says, well, I'm going to call this song Bob. That's the alias for Have a Merry Christmas. Bob is my alias.
But an alias, or it in total nerd speak, it's an alias is a link or a symlink. But an alias is a way on the Mac file system of saying, even though this looks like a file, it is actually points to the same file contents as this other file. And I don't know how you create one from the user interface on the Mac. And unfortunately, it isn't quite semantically, it's slightly different from a shortcut on Windows. Make alias. There we go. So this is one of those features where make a copy unless you already know what make alias does.
Just to back up for a minute, the whole point here is that you want to have the same song appear in more than one directory. And so the simple thing to do is you just copy the file over to the other directory, so you have two copies. But on
I understand that. That's what I do in SquareView. I make a copy and I just give it a different name.
Right, that works
or
fine.
like with a plus or something. And
Yeah,
that's
that
you've answered my question. I just say walk through. What do you mean by making it? Oh, make alias. This is what it does. That's what I was looking for on the recording.
Yeah, that's So if for some reason actually copying the file just bothers you for some reason, there's another thing you can do, which is you can make a shortcut, a symlink, an alias, whatever they call it on your operating system, and you do that in the file explorer or the finder or whatever the thing is that you manipulate files with, and then you just drag that thing over there instead.
So I'm noticing that the player bar there does not have the coloring for the singing calls. So let's go back up into preferences and see why, if we can solve that problem real fast. And back over to music, which is the left side there. And I would have expected to see a coloring.
Well, can we click on something that we know is a singer, like this
Yeah.
one?
Yes. Oh,
These,
that's
these
the
are all
problem.
Because
singing
I have a
calls.
feeling that it didn't.
There
Yes.
we go. Yes.
For some reason, it didn't think that was a singing call, right?
Yes. Well, because that other one was in the March
Yes, it was in
2015
the
folder or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So whereabouts are we in the song at the moment?
So right now
we're in the little circle. Right,
yeah, let's close back off the preferences again.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously, as Mike pointed out last week, the yellow regions are the intro and outro. The reds are the breaks, and the two different blues, the teal and the dark blue, are the singing call figure places. Over in the lyrics tab, you have an in and out button.
Here?
Yes. And you can move the
sorry, an in and out button.
So you move in resets the in point where the first opener starts to that point.
Oh, I see.
So if you've got something with weird numbers, weird counts for your intro and outro. And that should get, really close then to, the square broke down. I wanted to restart from the middle of the, restart from my middle break. You can grab your slider and scrub to that. You use those same things for setting in it or loop points on your pattern music.
You just reset the in on that one. Does that save automatically?
Yes.
So that's the new in button, even though it's, maybe in the wrong place right now.
Yeah. And then also, as we pointed out last week, over there on the right side is the unlock for editing button. If you click that, you can now edit your cue sheet. And you can save over the current cue sheet, or save as to create a new copy of the cue sheet.
Nice.
I had a question about the cue sheet thing, and I think this was I might have misunderstood what was being asked before. So I'll ask it my way, and it's a kind of an advanced feature that I don't think I've seen elsewhere, but maybe this program is doing it. And the question was, supposing I have a cue sheet that's a mainstream cue sheet, and I have another cue sheet that's an A2 cue sheet for the same song. And is there some way that I can tell the program I'm calling A2 tonight, and so when I ask for singing call cue sheets, show me the A2 ones, not the mainstream versions?
No, we don't have an automatic filter for that, but we do have, as you saw earlier, you can use that to flip back and forth between the different versions of your cue sheets.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you just go up there and pick the one you want. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to kind of close out the things that I actually use in things, I think that Mike was talking about removing the dance programs folder there, but this lets you check off when each of these are work taught, and this does this per session. So if you check one of those, that puts the completed in there. Obviously, you can sort by it. So I have found this useful when I'm, you have, for whatever reason, you're not teaching in your teaching order because people are showing up at different times. This is a tool you can use, and this is obviously stored by session.
If like after COVID, when we're all going to be doing, 5 class nights, different groups a week, that same right-hand pull-down arrow is going to take Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that kind of stuff.
Well, so you can override the session. See up in the menu option, there's a session menu option.
Sorry.
Up in the menu bar, up the very top of the screen.
Oh, here.
Yeah, see the session section there?
Yes. right?
That's where you
Ah,
can
okay.
override.
Okay.
And
So,
that'll have a different checklist for each one.
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
And
Yes,
then
that's a very handy feature.
the
for sure.
final folder there is the reference folder. And we don't currently have anything in there. But there is a folder that is created in your SquareDance music place. And if you throw HTML or PDF files in there, they will be available for you. Let's sort by date created. And I think we have something that's created today. Oh no, let's go into into music, SquareDance. Right. We try not to muck with things outside of your, yeah. So let's sort by date. There we go. Is there anything above that?
No.
Huh.
Date created. That's this. Whoops, sorry.
Just untitled folder. All right. I will have to remind myself how that works, but because I thought that we should have created a folder in here for reference materials.
Is it anything in preferences?
I don't think so. Let me take a look on my machine.
Well, while you're looking at that, Mike mentioned last week that your cue sheets are all HTML files.
Yes.
But with that edit function, you can actually write out a cue sheet in Word, style it like you want, and just copy the whole thing, paste it in, and save it as a cue sheet.
So yes, if you have something in Word, you can copy in Word, drop over, do an unlock for editing, paste, and then save.
Because sometimes you get a cue sheet as a Word document, as a PDF document, or an HTML file, depending on where you get it from. That's a handy feature.
Dan, when you say a Word document, is that any text file?
Yes.
Or yeah, that's what I'm saying. Any you can get them in different types of formats, but whatever format, like if you're using a Mac Word or one of the emulators, you can type it out, format it the way you want with the font you want, just paste it in. Like I use a 22-point Arial, which allows me to see it from across the room.
Yeah, so
and it will save that size. That's what I'm saying.
Some of the styling may or may not be carried across perfectly. You'll have to experiment with that.
Yeah.
So Richard, if you have a text file or an HTML file that you don't mind showing us, if you can create a folder in here called reference, or maybe just retitle that untitled folder to reference.
Oops.
I want to see the file where you jot down all the nasty notes about the dancers.
Okay.
Why, Chris, have you danced for him and want to see what he says for you?
You know it.
And then, yeah, I guess we can create a new text file in here or something, or throw a PDF or something in there.
Do you want some like a square dancing type lab?
Sure.
Just create a random text document.
Sorry?
Yeah, just
I'm getting
you're not embarrassed to show us.
Do you want me to just create something?
Sure.
Could be a cookie recipe, any old thing, really.
Yes.
I'm allergic to peanuts.
Yeah, now before you set the font, say at 22-point or something.
Yeah.
The RTFs won't work. We need to save it as HTML or
let me find an HTML. Just a sec.
Yeah. If you
Does PDF work?
I think PDF works.
Does TXT work?
TXTs work.
It's a lovely sound. What was that?
That was my Google or not Google, my
1
Apple
hour.
thing telling me that daylight savings time starts tomorrow.
Oh,
So let's drag a copy of that folder
out of the Mac. It's like, oh, I like that. I have a Mac. How can I make that noise?
So if we pop back into SquareDesk at this point,
Okay, right.
cancel
Yes.
our preferences.
Oh, sorry, preferences.
Oh no, we can't. No, we should be okay. Sorry, I meant cancel the preferences.
Ah.
I do not know why the reference isn't showing up here. Huh.
It's reference singular, right? With a capital.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is supposed to show up. Try renaming that to lowercase reference just in case, because that's what mine is.
This is a build from 2 years ago also, right?
Yes.
So it might have some glitches in it that are fixed.
Yeah, and actually let's quit it and restart it. And while you were doing that, if you want to talk amongst yourselves, and Don, you want to give the 1 hour thing, I need to take a bio break. I will be back in a moment.
Yeah, I was going to interrupt. It is the official hour part. And this is where I generally thank you guys all for coming and your attentiveness. Thank you, Dan, for doing what? For the technical stuff and uploading the video eventually. But he's not here to be thanked. Thank you, Mark, for actually putting all our videos on the Orange County Callers Association website also, but Mark had to leave to call a class. A special thanks today to our SquareDesk virgin, Richard. I think this made it work pretty well. So we could have this session. Hopefully, Richard, you'll join us for others that are totally off this subject, but and hopefully you've gained something out of it. Let's have
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And you can see it's working fine now. I renamed it to reference with a lowercase r, restarted it, and it's found several things.
Richard, I'm hearing you completely garbled in that last set of talking.
How's this?
Still, are others hearing it garbled also?
Yeah, it's garbled.
Yeah, and I was at first I thought that something like we had an audio loop back, because it's like was an echo in it.
Wasn't even quite an echo. It was sort of, but maybe it was five
It
echoes.
started doing that once he reloaded SquareDesk.
Oh. Huh.
Write that down as a
close
bug.
Close SquareDesk for a second and try and talk again, Richard.
Oh yeah, maybe it's having some weird interaction with the Zoom audio somehow.
Yeah.
Could you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
you sound wonderful now.
Okay.
So share
As
your
you can
screen.
see, when I'm getting an echo. When I renamed it to reference with a lowercase r and restarted it, everything worked fine. Did you
Excellent.
see that?
Yes, I came back in just in time to see it on the screen.
Yeah.
By the way, Dan, we thanked you.
Yay. Cool. So I think that's kind of there are probably nuances and tweaks that I didn't get in here, and obviously we didn't, set loop points for everything. I noticed Joe has his hand up.
Yeah, I downloaded this on my Windows.
Uh-huh.
And being the male version of the species, I did not look at any instructions.
Okay.
And so it downloaded a bunch of stuff from my music stuff, not all the stuff I wanted. Is there a way to get rid of what I did and start all over?
I'm not, so I don't know what it would have downloaded aside from just the application. I know Mike had a way to kind of like download all of the cue sheets. I think that the same cue sheets pack that SquareView has. I think if we just find that folder and delete it, that's fine, but you can also just leave it there. It doesn't take that much space. And it gives you, it makes it more likely that it will find a cue sheet when you go looking for cue sheets.
Okay, well,
Well,
on my music portion, what I have is it has a lot of my pattern and my singers, some because I have things not organized, so it's
Okay.
okay. So I have some from here, some from there. And what I wanted to do is just totally clean that up, clean clean out where I have my singers, my pattern, all that stuff. So then I can download it. Now I was only able to download from the other file single tunes at a time. And with a few thousand songs, that's going to take me a while.
Uh, yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're asking, and maybe we need to do a screen share here because SquareDesk itself doesn't do any downloading. You
Oh,
just
okay.
point it at where your music is, and
Okay.
it finds your music, which is
Okay.
what we saw with with Richard the first time we fired it up. It was looking in his music folder and found everything, and the second time we pointed it at his music Square Dance folder, and
Okay.
that found a more limited range of things.
Okay. So it overrides whatever I pointed at. Ultimately, it will override the rest of it.
It's only reading,
Yeah.
it's not writing unless you do a save from things.
Yeah.
In order here, because I'm seeing a bunch of hands up, does that
That's
kind of
good.
cover you, Joe?
I think so. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Paul, I see your hand up.
Yeah, like in the question period last week, we found out that when somebody was having trouble, found out that he had Windows and you didn't have an updated version
Yeah.
for the latest Windows, so it wouldn't do a lot of things.
Yep.
Is that going to be viable soon?
I don't know. I never got a Windows. I don't have a Windows computer that I can set up a build environment on to make that work. I don't know whether Mike does. This software is open source, so if there is somebody out there who is a Windows developer who would like to help us out, we would love to have the assistance.
Yeah, well, if this fellow just downloaded it and was trying to use it, is he only getting that older version? So maybe it won't be doing what he wants.
Yeah, so I think that older version doesn't have tags in it, and there were other features that were missing. And I'm sorry that for the tremendous amount we're paying for this software, we aren't able to provide updated support.
Yeah, and also, is there, like, sort of Windows user is the best thing to do to go to Square View, or is there a comparison sheet between Square View and SquareDesk? What it'll do?
Honestly, right now, I think that if you're a Windows user and happy with Square View, you should probably stick with Square View.
Yeah, well, I haven't really learned that either, so I'm just new.
That's I think that we have most of the features that Square View has, but we take a different approach to the user interface. So it's it's not an apples to oranges. And there again, it's one of those things where if somebody wants to take the time to build that comparison sheet, we would love the assistance, because it's one of the this is me and Mike and maybe one or two other people occasionally scratching our own itches. The fact that you all get to download it is completely ancillary to the fact that we get a music player out of it.
Well, I'd love to try it, but
while we're on this subject, Richard, you've been using SquareView. Are there any things that you use that you didn't find available on this thing?
The only thing that I thought of was what I asked about. On SquareView, you can say search these directories for cue sheets. And so if I'm doing a plus dance, I have it set up one way and a mainstream another. That's why I asked about how do I switch between the other than that, no, everything. I only use a very limited part of SquareView. It's got lots of features, but never used them. The ones I've used, this has, and it has other stuff. I think it's great. Yeah.
I'd like to point out about the open source thing. What they've done here is they've taken this program and they've put it on the web where any developer can get the source code and make contributions to it or improvements or whatever and help them out. or I guess I don't know what the license on it is. Is it like a GPL type license or
It's
something?
GPL, yeah.
Yeah, so somebody could even like fork off a different version of it that worked differently, or all that's possible because of them open sourcing it, putting that nice license on it, and making it available. And somebody at the very beginning, I think right before we started rolling, was talking about a program. Bill Hyman's program, and that it was no longer maintained, and is sort of what we call abandonware, and that was sad. Because perhaps with just a little maintenance or something, that program could be still a viable option, but because it's not. But this one, SquareDesk here, they've made it so that basically can't happen, because it's always a possibility. Even if they were all to get hit by a bus tomorrow or run over by a mob of angry square dancers or something, somebody could still get a hold of that source code right off the net there and maintain the thing. So I just want to say thank you for doing that. That's just a great community service and a great way to make these kind of things available, in the future.
Thank you.
I saw some hands that were up, but they're down again.
Tony's got his hand up.
But Tony has his up because Stephen and Mel have pulled theirs down.
Yeah, I'm a Windows user, and it looks like the most recent version of SquareDesk is 0.9.1 for Windows. Is that right?
Yeah.
I downloaded it last week after the call, but I haven't played with it yet. So I want to, and no doubt I'll have a lot of questions when I've tried some stuff. But I want to clarify where my music needs to be on the computer before I try, because I don't want it to grab everything I have. So what do the folders need to be named Patter and Singing for SquareDesk to see them?
Well, you can reconfigure the folders. So Richard, why don't you pop your thing back up again and your screen back up, and we'll go look at this.
Tony, this is an excellent question. The kind of thing that we should be looking at is to.
So
how does
yes,
the beginner.
Right now I have a folder called MP3, and then I have another folder with a different name, and some of the things I like to use are in each.
So you only point SquareDesk at one place, and it looks below that. But
so I can tell it which folder to look in.
What the parent folder is. So if we look down the left-hand side here of Richard's screen, we notice that he's got a folder named Another Beat of 2013 and a folder named April 2014. And those all map to things in here, SquareDance.
Can we try something?
Yeah.
Why don't we just create a totally new directory and just move the two subdirectories to it?
Okay.
So I'll go right to the top.
In Windows speak, Tony, I think if I understand this correctly, what you're saying is if you've got 10 folders, instead of pointing it to the top folder, if you only wanted to capture stuff, you just direct it at one of the subfolders and it'll just catch that subfolder and anything in that subfolder.
But it doesn't care what the folder is named. It doesn't have to be
because you're telling it where to go. You could call it Bob, and it'll look in Bob and everything in the Bob folder.
I can either browse or I type in the name of the folder.
Yeah. Well, in just a moment. So here we go. We've got Patter, Singing, and Other, and this is a brand new clean folder.
And I'll move the cue sheets too if I can find it.
Sheets if you would.
Oops.
Right. And is there a folder above these 3 or 4?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to point SquareDesk.
I'm going to do, I meant to put that under Patter.
Oh, okay. You're going to.
I'm trying to just. No, that's not what I meant to do. Oops.
No.
That was meant to be cue sheets. Plus and. Okay. I'll rename that cue sheets, whatever, just as an example.
Dan,
did you move those or copy those?
I moved them. I can easily
Okay.
move them back.
So now if we go up to preferences here,
Preferences.
so there's two things we can he's going to
Oh.
choose where he goes for SquareDesk music. But before you click OK, generally,
Oops.
notice the music types section here, Tony.
Yeah.
If you want basically put the name or some portion of the name of the folder in which you have each of the type of music in
Yeah.
that section. And then
Okay,
that will recognize that music as that section.
This is, this is what I kind of flagged mentally a week ago to ask. Right now, I have patter and singing and others in the same folder. I don't have separate folders for them. So do I need to separate them into folders by genre, by patter, and then singing, and then mixers and so forth before SquareDesk will do what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, if you want SquareDesk to make a distinction, the way that
Uh-huh.
SquareDesk makes that distinction is by which folder the music is in.
Okay. It's going to be some work, but every program has a bit of extra work connected with setting it up.
But
Thanks.
if you don't want to do it that way, you can just put hashtags on those different ones that indicate what type they are, and then you can search when you want to go looking for a particular
Hashtags, what? Hashtags on the file name?
No, the Windows version doesn't have the tags yet. So that doesn't help Tony.
Oh, but the full version were we to get somebody to actually go and compile the thing for Windows lately.
Yes.
It would, right?
Yeah. So then you could go down. You wouldn't get the different player behavior. It would just be a straight player, but you could sort and search based on that you put in the tags on each individual song.
But if I segregate them by folder, then I will have those player features.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think I better play with it a while before I ask any more questions. And then
Just to clarify your question, Tony.
Write down a list of what I want to ask next time.
Cool.
On that, you have all your files, your patter, your singing, your cue sheets, all in one folder, or not one in one main folder with subfolders under that? Like you have music, and then you got a cue sheet, a record, or is there all in just the same one location?
Okay, first off, I don't use cue sheets.
I'm just whatever.
So everything I've got is music files, and at the moment, I have them in two separate files for other reasons. But in each file, there are some patter, some singing, some circle dances, and so forth.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. What I was wondering, it's sort of a follow-on question to what Tony was saying. You've already answered about the Windows updates, so I don't know if it takes those automatically, and we'll find that out. But if I created a SquareDesk or an SD folder, underneath that I might have singing calls, cue sheets, patter. As long as I aim to the top folder, it'll get all the ones underneath it. But if I aim it at the subfolder music, it's only going to pick up anything from music and below, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
We only look at where you aim it and below.
Okay.
Dan, if I were to create a SquareDesk music folder,
yeah,
because I don't feel like rearranging the rest of the stuff on my computer, can I just drag an alias of my singers into that folder and an alias of my patter folder into that folder?
I do not know, but it'd be worth trying.
You want to? Do you want me to try it?
Sure.
Just as a quick reminder for the Mac users, to create an alias, you can either right-click on something until you go down to alias, or you can do a Command Option and drag it, and you're going to be dragging an alias or a pointer off of it.
Just as a note before you go on to that, Steve had his hand up quite a while ago. We're getting into a different topic now.
But just to finish that sentence, if you drag it into the same folder, it'll call it an alias. If you drag it to your desktop or to a different folder, it'll keep the same name without the word alias. Steve, are you raising your hand again? No, Stephen rather. Do you prefer Steve or Steven?
Go for the make alias, I think is what you want there,
Yes.
Richard. Yeah.
It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
so-
I just write it Stephen because it doesn't look complete without the N.
Oh.
There. So
All
now
right.
we have patter. So if I click on patter, it looks just the same as if I click on patter over here.
And if you moved something into one of those folders, it would move into the other folder, or you would see
correct.
it in both
It's,
folders.
it's the same thing.
That's automatic with it.
So
Yeah.
that little black arrow in patter, that's just a shortcut or an alias for Mac, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
If you
It's
if you
not
do
the
a get
real
info,
folder,
for
it's just a
example, it
pointer.
tells you where the original.
Right.
Like a desktop shortcut type thing.
So let's see if
Exactly.
those show up in your SquareDesk.
Yeah. Whoops.
Gee, he's got Zoom open.
Okay. So clear.
Let's clear search and then
Let's look for something that's in here.
yeah, Samba or Jagger. Whoops, what happened there? Or are you quitting and
oops. It didn't like something.
yeah. I wonder if I wonder how we deal with these.
Or maybe renaming stuff under its feet like that, it got a little annoying.
It could. Yeah, let's see if. So no, Don, the answer seems to be that it doesn't follow alias links.
Weird. Oh, fix it.
Yeah. I will. I'll create an issue for that right now.
That's going to save you a lot of time.
Yeah. Let me go to issues and see if I can find if we have any aliases.
We can try a symlink and see if it handles that.
I suspect that
I bet it will. I bet it
okay.
will.
Yeah, try it. I suspect that an alias and a symlink are the same thing, but
they look different.
Okay.
At the shell level.
Okay.
Sorry,
then
I'm trying to find
ln-s is the shell method, which tells you what kind of a nerd I am.
I don't know what a symlink is.
Not a real link, it's a simulated link. That doesn't help though, does it?
Yeah, I got that much smell.
So on Unix, there's a special kind of a file called a symbolic link. And what it is it's a file, but instead of having any contents in the file, it just says the real contents are over there in some other file. And they don't even have to have the same name, but often they do. And now on the Mac, there's a further refinement of that, which is a thing called an alias. And the main thing about an alias is that, first of all, the shell command, Unix commands, if you're a power user and you're typing that kind of stuff in, that it doesn't understand the aliases. Only the Macintosh normal user interface and the GUIs and stuff understand aliases. And they are also symbolic links, except the trick with them is that when you make a link from a file named A to a file named B, and that B could be in the same directory or any other directory or wherever, if you move B, right, and then the link from A no longer works. But if it's a Macintosh alias, you can actually move the target around into different directories or rename it or do whatever you want with it, and the link will still track it. So you have one thing that's says A, and then it points to B. And if it's an alias, you can actually move B around even after you made the link, and it'll still continue to track where it went. But anyway, that's the nerd stuff.
That's good. Cool.
You can see it worked.
If you move B, Chris, then you're sending a new path back to A automatically.
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, A, you can move around at any time anyway on all of those things.
You can also rename A anything you want too.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course,
right.
Of course, that's kind of misleading on occasion, but
Well,
Yeah,
I actually use aliases a lot because it helps me organize my files and allows me to move things around and change the organization. And I actually wind up having the A part of it actually be a different name than the B a lot of times. I won't go into it, but that turns out to be really handy.
I use aliases a lot just for the common things I'm doing for the next month. I'll put an alias on the desktop, but the application will be still filed in the application folder and such.
I haven't used Mac since the early 80s, so bear with me for a second. When you create an alias or a shortcut, if you will, if you change something in that alias or the folder alias that you're looking in, that's going to change it in your master file, is it not? If you save it?
Yes.
Yes, when you access a file or a directory through the alias, you're really accessing the target.
Okay, so you have to inherently understand that basic principle. So you can't just create an alias and create a song list and make changes to that song list, because that'll change, or not the song list, but the base files. That'll change your files. So okay.
Yeah, that's the point, is that there can be many aliases, one or more, that all point to the same place, but each one of them is what you're really editing, and what you're really messing with is the destination,
is the master
target.
Yeah. And the other thing I was looking at was what you're doing here, Richard, basically working in, excuse the terminology, and I apologize for any Mac users I'm about to offend. You're using the DOS window or the C prompt window for Macintosh to do your directory searching and renaming and looking at where you want to point that. For people like me, that's where I would stop. I'm assuming I'm assuming you could do this just by dragging the folders into where you wanted them, correct?
You could do it at the GUI level for an alias, but not for a symlink.
Okay.
That's why I went to this window, and to create a symlink is this command here.
Okay,
and
because
as you
I can guarantee you
method,
most people would not be able to do what you're doing now.
Yeah, this is at a certain level, and Don, if you would like assistance going through this, I am happy to help you with it. But but yeah, this is a personal hand-holding kind of level of accessing things. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
I want to point out something that should be obvious, but Richard is a SquareDesk virgin, but not a computer virgin.
Yeah, I kind of got that impression.
Yeah, I mean, normally on the Macintosh, you never need to go into the command window, and in fact, they really don't want you doing that, and there's a lot of things that don't work in the command line, like the aliases don't work from their base. I'm glossing over why and everything, but basically the Mac is you should be in the GUI and doing the Mackie way of things, with aliases and whatever. The stuff they're doing here with the symbolic links and typing the Unix commands is super power user under the covers magic type stuff.
Chris, I'm pretty darn Mac savvy, and the one thing I've learned about what are we talking about here? Getting into the guts. The one thing I've learned about it is stay out of there. It's much safer.
I mean, I'm in there all the time, but I mean, I've been doing it for like more than 50 years. So
yeah.
It's like learning languages. I know enough in about 3 or 4 different languages to get myself into trouble, but not enough to get myself out of trouble.
So Mel asked, my last question is for Dan. SquareView downloads a Q sheet package. And indeed, and I have not used this feature, but Mike put it in, so it can't be all broken. Up under the file menu, there is a download matching Q sheets. And I think that what this does is grabs that the Q sheet package that is distributed with SquareView. Download matching.
Sorry, under what tab?
Under the file menu.
File,
see, you can see her on there.
So I guess you want a sing and call, right? Oh,
So I believe that what this is doing is it is downloading the entire QSheets package that Square View ships with.
Would that be
And-
import from SquareView database?
And well, so bringing in all those Q sheets and making them available to Richard. So if he didn't have Q sheets for anything before, now he does. I'm sorry.
where did it
I,
put
I
them
wish I
again?
had known that, because that would have saved me a hell of a lot of time.
I am not sure. I'm not sure where it put them. We can go look in that directory and see what we got.
We changed the directory, didn't we? For
Yeah.
no. Lyrics downloaded.
So maybe it doesn't download them immediately. Maybe it only downloads them
Maybe-
if you've got something loaded.
Could it download just what was
Yeah.
selected?
So let's go pick a singing call. And I think we removed all the singing calls in our Symlink experimentation.
Okay.
You can hit up arrow to and then change that to sing. And you know about tab completion, right? Yeah, there we go.
Right. Do I have to restart?
No,
Oh, it's got a bit small.
yeah, the problem was singing versus singer.
Yes, right.
Okay, so let's go see if I don't know, one of these has, just double click on one.
I'm trying to think what I might not have got. That came, I think, from a record. So
Okay.
don't. So it's quite possible that one I don't have the lyrics for.
Okay, double click on it to make sure it's loaded first,
Oh,
just in case.
right.
Oh,
yes.
and I see an asterisk on the lyrics tab, which suggests that we might have found one.
Now it's got a star under lyrics. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think that means it found a tab, a Q sheet.
Okay.
But let's try download matching anyway and see what happens.
No, I was just going to say, before you do that, if you click the down arrow, if there was multiple Q sheets loaded, that would show you what they were like. Let's say that it has 4 or 5 different titles. It would load all 4 titles. You pick the right one, the same as
Yes.
selecting. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Which you can see there's the copy
It's
of
already got
in the under the
yes.
mainstream folder, because
Okay.
we are creating a disaster of out of Richard's file system here. So it's
Okay,
under
I forgot
file.
what we were trying to do. Oh,
It was under file.
download
and
matching
download
Q
matching
sheets, right?
Q. Let's see what happens.
So where is it going to? The SquareView master site?
I don't remember. Probably something on SquareDesk.net. Let's go see if we got a.
Yes, there
No,
are 3
okay.
now. Oh no,
No.
sorry, 2.
Yeah, just the 2. And I
Yeah.
don't think we got anything in downloaded. So I do not know what that feature does, and I have not used that feature. And part of being, I chase my own little narrow corners and don't always get everything.
What you're saying is you designed it, you just don't know how it works.
Yeah. Hey, that's 90% of working.
That sounds like half of everything I do, at least according to my wife.
What you're saying is we needed Mike here.
Yeah. Yeah, and that'd be a good thing for me to revisit at some point. But cool. So I think we've got, kind of we got the broad strokes of pretty much everything there, and delved into some deepness on sim linking that we got further than.
So
If I could just recap for us Windows user, if I'm running through an emulator, go to the link, click the download. There's the interface. Point it to where the files are that I want to look at. If I want my music, pattern, and cue sheets, make sure that I have the music, those 3 folders there, hit go or hit load, it'll upload them in there. And from there, it's pretty much, even though it's working on one window, it's pretty much the same as working SquareView. It's just got a little bit more flexibility in what I can do with each individual piece of music.
Yeah, and it doesn't have the 3 columns or however many columns you configure SquareView for. It's that toggle between and do the search thing first as its mode for operating.
Yeah. And now the last question I had on your playlist, you know, you were setting your playlists. Once you play a song, does that disappear off your playlist?
No.
Because that's my most annoying feature with SquareView is I create a playlist, it disappears once it's used.
Yeah, no, that playlist is there, and you can load and save that playlist. So you can build yourself a Christmas playlist or a, you know, or whatever.
You could probably do that in SquareView as well, but I just haven't played it. Beauty. Gives me something to play with for the next few years.
When you create a playlist, can you say which of the cue sheets to use? Or do you have to do that at the time? It'd be nice if you could do it ahead of time.
Yeah, I don't think it does save the cue sheet because the playlist, the industry standard format for playlists is unfortunately just a 1 line per text, and we don't have additional information for that. So yeah, we don't have that additional cue sheet thing.
No, but every time it loads on a playlist, though, it'll load all the sheets. So you can, again, the right down arrow on the side screen, you can select which cue sheet you want every time on each individual playlist.
Yeah, but that's not quite as nice as I am set to plus right now. Only show me my plus material, which is Mike and I have been talking about thinking about how to manage choreography, how to manage singing call figures, because I think that neither of us uses the cue sheet for the singing call figure. And Mike had that separate tool that he demoed, or I don't know if he did, I don't remember if he demoed it, but he has that separate tool that he runs on an iPad. Yeah, he did demo it. So we're thinking about that. Also, I'd note that one of the people who volunteered to be our crash test dummy, and thank you to Richard for volunteering, was Ken Sale. And Ken has written his own choreo music management system. And I thought Ken was a little bit too tech savvy for this, although turns out Richard's pretty tech savvy too. So I'm looking at what Ken has done for himself and trying to figure out how to do that, or because my heart is in calling simple, fast, flowing choreo, whether, you know, I've got it in my head and I don't really need it anymore. So I'm not sure.
Dan, I've got a basic user question.
Sure.
I've got it up on, I've got SquareDesk on my separate screen here. I love the fact that Command T goes back and forth between singers and caller and patter. So to get a patter up into the, or to get whatever I want, I double click on it to bring it to the top.
Yes.
Is there a keyboard command for once I've got something selected to put it up top? So I don't have to reach the mouse?
I think Enter or Spacebar might do that, but I'm not sure.
Enter didn't. Spacebar doesn't. It starts playing it.
Okay. Then I don't know, and that would be a good thing for me to put in. I have not thought about more. Yeah. And
in fact, I'm using the up-down arrow keys to try to move the selected one, and it doesn't. It just stays on the same selected one.
Okay, I think it should if you have clicked in that list previously, but I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, I'm clicking on a list and the arrow keys don't do anything. I've got something selected, but the only thing I can do with it is double click it to get in the, I don't know what you call the cued music, I guess.
Okay, yeah, so that's something we need to tweak.
Yeah, I'd love to have the arrow keys work it and then enter or command something to put it up where it belongs.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Tony, what's your question?
Well, I said earlier that I don't use cue sheets. It's not that I never look at my notes. It's that until now, I haven't kept them in a music player program. So if I have a single cue sheet for a single dance, and I want to put it into SquareDesk and be able to pull it up with that music track, how would I do that?
Well, so one way to do it would be to go into SquareDesk, load up the song you want, go over to the cue sheets tab or the lyrics tab, tap unlock for editing, paste your or type in your cue sheet there, and tap save, and it will ask you where to save it. I think the default is probably a pretty good place for that, and it will give a name that will match up, and thereafter it will always come up.
Okay, so it will name the file. If I just paste my cue sheet into SquareDesk, it'll create a file that it then looks up.
When you do the save as, it will choose a file that looks pretty close to the file name of the song you've got loaded. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So I just looked over and I don't see a cue sheet tab. Is the one that says patter tab?
Yeah, lyrics or patter is depending on what kind of song you've got loaded.
Oh,
Steven.
okay. Let me switch over to singer.
You're muted. You're still muted.
In Windows, where do you go to change it from all your music to your specific folders?
There should be the same preferences dialog, which I think is up under the file menu.
File preferences.
That's the beast.
Okay, music.
So there, the top line there should look really similar to what Richard was showing us. There should be a choose button, and if you click on that choose, then you can go choose.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. You're welcome.
Chris has his hand up.
Chris?
I had a basic question that maybe I missed it, but it was a feature that I use in SquareView all the time. Is I'm at the dance and I'm calling along, and I don't maybe I don't have anything pre-programmed in terms of what songs I want to use, but before the tip starts, I go up and I queue up the patter record that I want. And then I bring up my singing calls because I just have those in another column, and then I click on the singing call that I'm going to use, and I might even do a few of them ahead of time. So, but anyway, there's a queue of songs to be played next, whatever they are. Does SquareDesk have that?
I
No.
can answer that. I can answer that because I asked that last week. But what Dan's workaround is, he plays his patter, goes to the singing, selects it with a single click so it's ready to use, and then you just double click it when it's time to play it. But.
Oh yeah, but I can't. But I can't like queue up the next 2 tips worth of music and just say next.
You can,
Isn't that what the playlist was?
Yeah, you can use the playlist for that.
Yeah, but I don't want to make a playlist ahead of time because I'm only doing it right on the fly, in the 30 seconds before I'm about to do it.
Yeah, I'm not handy enough with the RP, but actually, Richard, can you pop up the screen share again?
Okay.
So if we pop back over to the music player tab,
right,
and so first off, with the playlist, you can go clear the playlist fairly easily, I believe. Clear playlist. There we go.
Right.
So now if you right click on any of those, there's an option. Is there a
it's
or a control click?
Spinning.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So in a singer?
Wherever, I'm just wondering what the playlist, add to playlist. So you could just, on the fly, create a little playlist here.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah. All right. Well, so I mean, the queue, a queue is nothing more than a playlist that you're just messing with actively.
Yeah. And then,
okay.
So you can take your next song and previous song and run through that.
But how do we?
So we would show your playlist.
How do we play the playlist?
Well, so let's go to previous song. Is there, or next song?
His playlist is marked with the numbers there. So he's got the playlist there. It's just,
right. Yes, I
it's just a
forgot
matter
that.
of
Yes.
showing.
Okay, yeah.
There you
So
go.
there we go. So that's how you get to the playlist.
And
That
then you
feels
just,
a little clumsy, but I'm not sure how to do that otherwise. So
well, it is good if you're only doing, like, if you've got 4 songs, you can say, right, these are the next 4 I'm going to do, patter, singer, create the playlist. The only problem is you've got to have both your patter and your singer on the same sheet. Otherwise, you got to flip between them.
yeah, well, if you clear that, you can add, you can use the Command T to flip back and forth patter to singer, add to the playlist, then clear that out, and you have the whole playlist.
Yeah, I was just saying that's why I'm saying that looks a little clumsy, because you can't go patter, singer. I've got the next 2 tips programmed. You can program patter and singer and flip between them, go 1, 1, 2, 2.
You can't have like a unified single playlist that doesn't care where they're from.
No, the playlist doesn't care where they're from. I think Tony's, or I think Mel is missing that. If you have a bunch of things added to your, so now if you clear the search and clear the type search.
Yeah, when you're adding things to the playlist, you need to flip the search around.
Right.
But the playlist itself, it doesn't. That's just the playlist.
The playlist doesn't care about type.
That's what I was asking. And yes, okay, I can see it now. You got patter and singing on the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, that works. That works pretty good.
You just have to remember to sort by in that leftmost column with the hashtag. Otherwise, I think if you hit next song, it'll go to the next song on the big list, whether or not it's on your playlist.
Yes, that looks like the behavior.
Yeah, so you got to make sure your playlist is all together at the top.
Yeah.
I have another question. If I get in that playlist now, we're looking at right now, there's 1 patter and 2 singing calls right ahead there.
Yes.
If I put 4 patters, like, for example, in there, pick them and have 4 singing calls, can I rearrange them within the list?
Yes.
That was going to be my next question, is can you drag them around the order there?
I don't believe you can drag them around, but there are keyboard shortcuts and up under the menu options for moving up and down in the playlist.
Oh, okay, same thing.
Now, can you save that playlist once you've created it?
Absolutely. And restore it. So
can you move pattern number 2 down 1, just to show us how that's done?
So I don't think you can drag it, but go up into the playlist menu. I think there's a move down.
I thought if you right clicked it, you had that move down option, didn't you? Or is that
move
only
song?
When you were setting it up?
It's in the middle. Move song.
Move song.
Sorry?
Yeah. There we go.
So I want to move that down.
Okay.
So there.
There you go.
Now we
Patter singer. You got it.
And there were keyboard commands there for that in the menu.
No, I saw that when you were setting it up to add on playlist, it had that command. I didn't know if it worked the same way. But yes.
I actually think I like this better than the. Some people are saying this seems kind of clumsy, but it seems easier to do than it is in SquareView, to me anyway.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Chris.
It's
so can you? I assume the answer is yes, but can you create multiple playlists like Party Night or
Halloween.
Well,
Sure.
save as, right?
yeah, you can
Dan, what does it mean with the thumbs up and shaking your head no?
I was about to ask that.
So yes, you can load playlists, save playlists as, or and it can store recent playlists.
And then you'll have a list of what they were.
Yeah. Where do you look for your saved playlists when you want to use Halloween?
Wherever you saved them.
But do they appear on the menu?
Yeah. Where do you is there a default for when you say save playlist where it appears so that you can go look for it later?
It put it right at the top. The default was right at the top. Look.
Yeah.
So you have to pick where to save it.
The OS to save where. Yeah.
So essentially, if I put my music folder, singing calls, patter, cue sheet, playlists. And
Yeah,
that's where I select. I could have Halloween, Christmas, everything else, just separate playlists. It would just, and I just click on whatever I want to select it at. Playlist, Halloween, bang.
I use tags for most of that functionality, but
Okay.
you know, that's playlists would be reasonable.
Okay.
I think that I tend to be a lot more, I am probably fooling myself, but I tend to try to be specific to the mood of the floor a lot more than a lot of callers do. A lot of callers, I think, put together their evening in advance. And I'm very much in the, well, that felt like I lost them. Let's get some energy up. Or, wow, this is doing really great. Let's ride it out with some smooth stuff that doesn't, isn't bouncing them off the walls as we go through the night. So different tools.
I think that comes with experience. I used to write everything out, and then I'd be half a tip ahead, sort of.
Well, what I do is I don't program song by song what I'm going to do all night, but I often, especially because a lot of dances have a theme, like St. Patrick's Day or something. I'll make a playlist, it's usually I do it as a playlist, and the playlist has all of the songs, singing calls, and patterns that I think I'm going to use that night. I mean a whole selection of them, right? And I don't go in order or anything. I just bring up the playlist of, here's my St. Patrick's Day theme dance, and here's 50 songs on it. And I'll pick the ones, as I'm going along. I just pick out of there, let's do, Great Day for the Irish next.
So you just narrow the library you're looking through.
Exactly, yeah.
But that's what I was saying in the programming sessions as well.
That also helps me when I have new records that I keep forgetting to use. I'll put them on a playlist, and on SquareView, I have 3 windows up. I have Patter, Singing, and Other will be, the first 2 are whole directories of everything. And then the third one will be some playlist for today. Or if I don't have any playlists, the third window is usually the special playlist, which is, Happy Birthday and, Grand March and all that jazz.
Mickey, you had your hand up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I have a question. Sometimes we have to keep track on certain dances. It's not regular club nights, but special dances and festival dances. We have to keep track of the songs that we were playing for GEMA, which is probably BMI and ASCAP. If I have done my dance, will that save the dance in
Richard,
an archive?
Share your screen again. We have a feature just for your European callers.
They don't make us keep track over here.
So I think it's so under the file menu.
Oh.
There is export song play history. This exports so you can choose which session, your start dates and your end dates. And this exports a CSV file that you can then import into a spreadsheet or whatever. It's not terribly well fleshed out, but it is exactly for you European callers who need to report specific plays to, and I think at this point we don't have a whole lot of plays in this database to show, but that's exactly what that feature is for.
You can save that like GEMA and the month, GEMA January, GEMA February, GEMA March,
or
et cetera, et cetera.
What we usually need is just the record number, and have them pick it out, whatever it is, and the title, of course, yeah. But it does not keep track automatically. I have to every time tell them to do so.
No, it tracks you with the music. We have a database of the music that you have played because we keep track of that for when the last song was played.
I was going to say the age column might be helpful.
Right.
Just
yeah.
So the
Mike was answering a similar question in the last session, and what he said, and I think you said the same thing, Dan. The big thing to make sure of is when you do your exports, you keep your sessions, you save your sessions specifically, because if you practice or you're doing something, or let's say you put it on a dance, you show up early and you play the record as background music, and then you might do it later as a singing call in the next session or whatever it is at a festival, because you're moving from hall to hall. You got to make sure that you save the sessions, not your practice sessions, because if you don't, it will, every time you play that record, it'll make a notation. So as long when you download your sessions, and that's what you get to GAMA.
So the database that you're exporting, when you export it, I'm going to ask if these columns are in there, and I bet they are. But it would be like the record title and maybe some other record number, label, whatever identifier that you need, and the date and the session, and that's probably all you need. And then you just
it looks like we have 3 columns. I just exported everything that was in my Mac. We have the song name, and it looks like we're only reporting the name portion of that. We're not reporting the other the publisher, the SquareDance music producer, and then when played in local time and UTC time.
And I think you should add to that. So I guess as a feature request, you should add some other ID information, maybe for the record. But the other thing is if you put the session on there, then when you're back in your spreadsheet program trying to prepare a report to submit to GAMA, you can then filter out by session the the ones that don't count, and then of course you just sort by title or whatever and make a sum column that says you played this particular record 3 times or whatever you want to do. But if you have the session and the full record ID in there along with the date, that seems for each time it's played, then that would seem like that would be everything you need.
You can also filter by session and with a time range on the export.
Right, but you might have if you're doing like a monthly report, you might have 20 different sessions that were relevant. You don't want to necessarily have to make 20 different spreadsheets.
Yeah, this was specifically we had I don't remember who it was, but we had 1 or 2 European callers, and we went back and forth with them a couple of times on what are you actually asking for here, and what's the simplest thing we can do that provides this, and this is what we came up with. I actually wanted
to do the same way in Canada.
Yeah, I wanted something that let me go back and edit and see how long things are played, and we might get there eventually too. But this was the simplest kind of scratch the itch and let the GAMA reports work.
So far, I've been working with the caller caddy, and every time I start a session, I put the name in of the group or of the festival dance, and then I just have to call up and have the list, but I have to then transform it and move it over into Word or in different formats. Is there a thing in your SquareDesk as well to put a name in before you start a dance, so it is saved under that name or under that session?
If we go back into the preferences or into the preferences window.
Which also would help that in the next year I come back for the festival, I won't do the same songs again.
Yes. So the sessions tab there. So we have a little plus and minus button there.
Okay.
And you can go, type in a session name, and if it has none there, it won't automatically try to choose one. But
I also could put clubs in there, like one would be Totes the Twirlers, the other one would be Munich Roller Coasters, the other's Colors of the Wind, and then I just have different dates for the sessions.
Yes, and that's exactly why I have the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in mind. I've got the Vallejo Pioneers on Monday and the Petaluma Rivertown Squares on Thursday, and as long as I remember to start SquareDesk on, not like leave it running when I close my laptop, but restart it, it automatically picks that session for me, and I don't have to pick it out of the session tab. The place where I do have problems is if beforehand, before the dance, I will often sit down when I'm setting up and play a few things, and I need to remember to set my session to practice and then set it back to that thing so that I'm not remembering those as part of that session, or just make sure that I darn sure that I play those songs that night if I had them in my practice. So
you're promoting not to practice as a just for keeping track?
Practice is my I don't care.
Just kidding.
Session. Yeah.
Just kidding.
I'd like to give a user interface request idea.
Okay.
So you have your session, and when you start to program up, or hit some kind of reset button or whatever you need to do to get it to reinitialize, what I would do is I would have it come up and pop up a menu, pop up a thing that I could dismiss that says, hey, is this a session that you want? And then you could, and it'll have a default of whatever the right one is for the time of day based on those preferences. Or you can type a new one in and right then and there, and then, hit return, or just say, no, this isn't a session, I don't care, and dismiss the whole thing. And then what you would want is something visual, fairly prominent on the music playing screen that says, you're not in a session or whatever session you're in, and a hotkey to enable and disable, and it would be visually indicated with a big X over the thing, whether or not you're actually in the session. So you come in, you set up, you say, what session is it? Thursday? And you say yes, and then you get, so now you're in that session, and then you have a hotkey, and it says Thursday session somewhere on the screen, and you have a hotkey that will toggle session recording off and on, so that you can do your practicing, and also in between, sometimes in between tips, you do those little preview practice things where you're listening for yourself. And so you could use the hotkey to turn on and off whether you're recording the plays, and you would want a visual indicator on there with a big X to make sure that you're turning it on when you're supposed to.
So you'll notice under the session menu, there's a don't save plays, and that keeps the session there and keeps that information, but doesn't write anything back to the database. And similarly, the show all ages shows you the last time you've played at all. I really like the idea of putting, like, over on the right side above intro there, a current session. When I first was building this, the laptop I was using for calling was an old HP netbook that probably had maybe it had 1024 by 768. There wasn't a lot of extra room to put things on. Now that we have these big, glorious high-res displays on everything, there's a lot more room to squeeze things in. And I like the idea of adding those capabilities on the main page. So, yeah.
Tony, I've got a question. Are there any other Contra traditional callers that are doing some canned music like you are with this, and should they be made advised to look at our part 2 and our part 1 of this, or is there some kind of a special session we could have to answer their questions, or are there a few special features that you can pay Dan to put in?
Well, I'm brainstorming, of course, what features I would like to see. Of the other callers in my network, certainly Lisa Greenleaf uses canned music. Once or twice a year, she does the benefit for the hall, and she uses pop music that she and Clark.
Yes, I know she and Clark have done some strange stuff.
do some splicing to make it fit a 32-bar dance. So she might be interested. I don't know what program she uses or whether she lets Clark handle the computer. I can't think of anybody else offhand who uses canned music these days.
Because you're obviously showing a lot of interest in this. And
yeah, because I do a lot of canned music jobs. I would love to not have to drag a CD player, and I might have it with me for backup, but I might not set it up except in an emergency. Actually, there are some international folk dance teachers. Marcy Van Cleve might be interested. I don't know if Dan Pearl's doing much these days. I know he was unwell for quite some time, but he does international as well as contras, and he uses recordings. There are a couple others that I can't think of just now.
It just seems like there's, as we've learned in previous sessions, and as I've known, that there are a lot of people on the more traditional side where you are, and I know they use mostly live music, but just a sort of an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Well, I saw something on a DJ program last night when I was at not a square dance, but another kind of dance, and I don't know. Well, I mean, I kind of know how this works technically, and I think what I'm asking might be a lot because it's very platform dependent. But I'll just throw it out there for you on the add to the infinite feature request list. And it's when you're playing the song, what DJ programs have. Because we were talking about the practicing and the previewing while you're at the dance, right? Listen to the music, but it's not for the dancers yet. On DJ programs, they have the ability on the audio output to toggle whether or not you're playing it over the speakers out the main line output or whatever, or only on the headphone jack. If you have that, or if you don't have a line out, you probably have a USB audio card, and so you can play music just into your headphones, which you can just pick up and listen to, and then nobody else will hear it, and then you play the main music out the audio card or the line out or whatever you have, and so there's a little audio setup thing, and of course there's some kind of a little hotkey or something to determine which you're playing over which. Now on the DJ ones, you can simultaneously play them because while one's playing, you're queuing up another one. We don't need the simultaneous thing, but the choose the output thing might be a cool feature. Just something to think about.
I just saw several hands go up, and I couldn't tell whether they were waving goodbye or not. But Richard and then I think it was Michael.
And I just wanted to note real quick that I believe that we reinitialized the audio system at every play. So you should be able to do that with the system audio chooser. But I agree, that's a cool feature, and I need to play with that a little bit, make sure that it actually works. Because having an earbud so that I could say, what am I really queuing up would be cool. Anyway, back to...
I don't know how your sound library works. Maybe there's a thing for it, and all you need to do is pop up an audio preferences thing. Or else it could be a complete nightmare. I don't know.
Audio stuff is in flux right now because of how things are handled on the new M1 Max. So Mike has things ripped apart. Richard, I think you're next, and somebody else after you.
Yes, you had asked, is there anything in SquareView that I don't see in here? I think you'd asked.
I did, but
yeah. One thing, I doubt if anyone else would use it, but I found it handy in SquareView. I could see the clock while the singing was going on. I have a few singers where it's really hard to tell exactly where a certain thing should be said. So often on the cue sheets, I would have like at 142 this. It might be where you say grand square, or it might be this lyric isn't obvious where it starts. And so it was really handy. I could say, okay, I'm waiting for 142, then I do this. And with the clock synchronized, it worked nicely.
Pop up the share again, please. I think we might have you covered. We might not, but we'll try. So I don't know, start or flip over the lyrics tab, or start playing, flip over to the lyrics tab.
Do you hear that? Should I turn it?
We do not hear it. And interesting. So we don't have a time on it then. And of course it's not with the singing pattern. Oh yeah, stop this a moment. Let's go back because we're not in.
Yeah, we don't have the idiot bar.
we're not recognizing this as a singer, which oh, because we're playing it. Yeah, let's go back to the music player and see why we're not recognizing it as a singer.
Mine comes up with the colored bars in lyrics.
Oh, didn't I screw around
clear
with the
search?
directory?
Yeah, I think we're confusing the hell out of it. There we go. Click on California Dreamin' again, ESP 713. Let's try that.
You're not allowed to call it the colored bar. That's not,
the bar of color.
Oh no, wait, you can't say idiot bar either. I don't know.
Okay, now let's try playing again.
Bar.
Oh, I see that the clock is there.
Yeah, but let's make sure
that's the current time though.
Over on the that's the hit play. Oh yeah, that number.
Where's the song timer?
So the song timer you can see over there at the
in
end.
Tiny
of the,
oh, here.
Yeah. Let's go see if that's on the lyrics page as well. Okay, it is not on the lyrics page as well. Yeah. So what you're asking essentially is, can we put the little clock over maybe to the left of the slider bar, to the right of the slider bar? Those are just the in and out points.
Yes.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you see it in the bar right ahead where the music is running, in which part you are.
Yeah, but so I guess that would be the so yeah.
It's the opener in the middle of the opener. It will be probably about 20-25 seconds.
So yes, all of those, if you set your intro correctly, your in and out points correctly, then your grand square is going to be at the beginning of the red section.
Right.
I don't know if that's useful enough for you. And that does require,
yes.
Yeah, hopefully the music is going to, when you see the general area where you are about to start the break, the music should tell you when to say side space, grand square.
I have certainly had music that I can get lost in before.
Yeah, it wasn't so much for the grand square as it's I can't remember. There's a few times where it's words you have to say, but it's not obvious like the grand square. That's when I found it useful, but it's not a big thing.
Okay, so you should, if you're set with 128 beats or even 126, you roughly have 30 seconds for one figure or a section. So being in the middle would be 15 seconds. So this is about approximately how you can figure it out.
Well, it's knowing that if you tag the intro and the outro, then you should be able to divide it into 7 sections. That's how that bar is drawn. But yeah, it would probably be cool. I know we have the regular discussion about karaoke files. And hi, Mark, if you're here. And one of the things I've been thinking about is being able to mark up the cue sheet with karaoke or with accurate notations, so we could do some highlighting directly in the cue sheet. All of those are future feature requests that I don't have time to do right now because I've got so many other things going on.
I'll give you another one to go with it because I know you don't have enough. For me, it's hard to see the bar. But what would be really handy and actually better than the bar for anybody, I think, under a particular circumstance, I'll tell you, is a big alphanumeric thing that just says, MB for middle break, or 3 for the third figure, or that kind of thing, that you could just glance at.
It's sort of there, Chris.
I think we got you covered. I think we got you covered.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Richard. Sorry to make you be the guinea pig here, but so over there on the right side.
Opener. Oh yes, opener.
figure one.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I want. Can you make it be huge?
um,
Because see, I want. So first of all, of course, I have trouble just seeing things anyway.
Right.
But even if I were fine, it would be nice to be able to glance down without having to, without having to concentrate too much, to be able to glance down. And the place where this is going to come up for me or anybody, because I'm sure that I'm not the only person this ever happens to, is that every once in a great while, something will go not exactly perfectly in the singing call, and you had to do something, and now you're all of a sudden thinking, how many figures did I do again?
Yep.
But maybe it could help to have an announcement. You are leaving figure 2 in about 5 seconds.
What? How about a big 3 or something?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And he's got it there. It's just it's not big. That's all.
Yeah. It's well, yeah, we have a bunch of thoughts. One of the
I mean, if you want to talk about an idiot bar, this would be the idiot mode, and it would be just a bit 3.
We've been talking about, do we continue on with the library we use for user interface, or do we move to something that would let us possibly deploy on mobile and Chromebooks and things like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the usual hack is that you embed a browser, embed a browser.
And in fact, you can, we have a couple of embedded browsers in here. So we are thinking about how do we make this more easily stylable and stuff like that. We don't have any answers yet. And obviously I haven't written any code on it in 2 years. So
well, if obviously if it were just if it were an editable layout, XML type thing, with a CSS file, then I could rearrange the menus and displays and anything. I could make a huge 3 and I could do whatever I wanted.
Yep.
That would require technical editing on my part, but I'm always in favor of that kind of customization option.
Yeah. Mickey.
Yeah, we just covered the singing calls, and I think it's pretty cool to see where you are, and I think this helps. On the other hand, what do you do with a patter? Because sometimes getting carried away, I think it should help if there's a time running, like, after we're in a green spot and running 4 minutes, you're getting orange or yellow. And then maybe after 8 or 9 minutes, you're turning into red. Yeah, I know there's some dancers, and especially calling C and or even in A2, they like to have patterns and hoedowns going up to 20 minutes. But that's not the case in at a festival or in a basic mainstream dance, right?
Nobody really likes 20 minutes, by the way.
Pardon?
We do
I
have,
didn't get it.
The standard length for a challenge pattern tip is like 10 or maybe 11 minutes, and we think those are plenty.
I have to rethink, because we had 45-minute tips and they were still going on and did not want to break. But said, but I want to break now. They're just going crazy at it.
So we don't have, what we do have is the 2-stage timer capability. We have the display a warning 30 seconds before, or some notion before the timer, and then we have the play an audio timer or give you another visual representation at the later time for your patter timing. So yeah, I set mine for 6 minutes, and because figure 6 minutes for the patter, 4 minutes for the singer. I always go over on patter, but I try for a 15-minute turnaround, including a break in the middle. So but yes, at least those timers are configurable.
The one that says "get the hook."
Yes.
Yeah, but what he's asking for is similar to my idiot bar with the 3, right? He wants red alert on the screen.
Yeah, I think we could make that more aggressive, and I need to do some work. I've never gotten this compiling on Mac. I've always used Mike's builds for the Mac. I've done all my development on Linux. I need to get this compiling on the Mac because I don't currently have a Linux laptop except for my calling laptop, which is 12 years old, and so that I can start putting features in it again.
I have both development environments available here, but with my vision, I work very, very, very slowly. But I might be able to help on some of those.
That would be, yeah, if you wanted to go in and scratch your own itches on this, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of making some builds even for distribution or something. I mean, I have Xcode and I have some fairly crufty old I forget which, it's not Ubuntu, some Linux distro, some Debian thing.
Both those.
I'm just chuckling at how last week we kind of had a deep dive, and this week was supposed to be a high-level overview. And somehow we did that, and then we skipped over last week, and we're diving deeper.
Yes.
The geeks version.
And along those lines,
huh?
And along those lines, we've been going for 2 hours and 20 minutes and more previously, and I've got a bunch of things I need to accomplish today. So
happy weekend.
But I've got one more question.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing all the talking in writing at the bottom of my thing. I wonder whether I have accidentally made some kind of setting, or if this is done by the meeting.
This is done by the meeting, and one of my other meetings I host is a meeting on civic engagement and local political stuff, and we have not been doing a great job of being as accessible in that meeting as we should have. And I got called out on it, was like, okay, I need to figure out how to turn all this stuff on. And y'all are my test beds. So thank you for being here.
Well, glad to hear, because I didn't know which button I did push.
I think on my screen, there's a live transcript button down in the bottom that has a couple of options under it. And I
I never saw that. I never noticed that before.
I think
Show subtitle
on before. I think you can click that transcript and turn it off and on.
I got a little pop-up. I just now noticed at the top of the screen is a little pop-up that says live transcription, closed captioning enabled. Who can see the transcript going on? Yeah.
So yes, that's the transcript feature. I have turned it on because I've turned it on for y'all because I need to turn it on for the other group, and you're my test bed.
Okay.
I got a quick Zoom question, but does anybody know when somebody's screen sharing, if I can separate the gallery view of the participants and the screen share, so I can get the screen share blown up pretty big and put the gallery view on my second screen? Because I end up zooming in on one half or zooming in on the other half. Okay, never mind.
I guess the best thing would be probably get into the meeting with two machines, like one with an iPad and the other one with a computer.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
And on the other side, and I forget whether it was Chris, was it you or Mark who was using OBS for a while?
Mark was.
No, I didn't. It was Mark. I didn't get it running. But on the subject of multiple accounts, that's what I did. I made one that's my regular Zoom, and then I made another account called Chris Podium.
Mm-hmm.
And the Podium is the one that I just do screen share on.
So yeah, OBS is a tool, Open Broadcast Studio, and it's a tool that if you figure out how to make it work for you, you can do things like take your own face and put it as an inset in your screen share. So
I went and looked at it quickly. It looks like you can do a million things, but to zero it down to the one that you want is quite a project.
Yes, it's like a lot of such things. It's a tremendously powerful toolbox that you can cut your fingers off with.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it to just do the first thing I wanted to do was just do the regular background like I have in Zoom right now.
you have to configure scenes and then transitions between scenes, and then choose a scene. And so, yeah. And I don't know that it can do the green screening internally. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, you had to, no, I tried to, it was a multi-hour long nightmare trying to
Yeah.
download all the extra things that you need, none of which worked.
And I don't,
wanted to.
and I don't think this is the platform for having Mark walk us through OBS, but
Yes. All right, y'all. I got people's Wi-Fi to configure and disaster preparedness meetings to prepare for, and somewhere in there, hopefully building some more projects in the shop and practicing my voice. So I'll catch
all
y'all.
I got to
next
do is
week.
prepare lunch. Thanks again, Dan. Thanks an awful lot, Richard, for joining us. Thank you guys for hanging in. As usual, I don't know what we learned, but it has been fun.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Thanks a lot and take care.
Thanks.
All right.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I know.